We're here at the David Braley Athletic Center on the campus of McMaster University. I've spent a lot of time here training already, running on the great indoor track here, but I also thought there are strengths and weaknesses involved in every person's running program. No body is perfect, trust me. So we're here with Steve Lidstone, the strength and conditioning coach for McMaster. Steve, you've taken me through the initial process and some initial testing, and am I right to say that everybody has weaknesses?
Absolutely. I think every body presents a different story, and so what we look at when we assess each individual is to see what your strengths and your weaknesses are, to make your weaknesses your strengths and then your strengths that much stronger.
Now, I did know that one of the things I talked about is the abs of jelly. I did want to get this from a six-pack to possibly a one at some point, and the one thing that you picked up, you noticed something, not necessarily a weakness, but a discrepancy, if you would, when you talk about my hips.
Yeah, anywhere from, when we look at the human body, we look at different areas, and basically when you run from, I mean, we call it your speed center, but basically from your knees all the way up to the top of your shoulder blades, they must work together in order to create locomotion or to move. And what we see with a lot of distance runners and things like that is a lot of instability around the hips, which lead to knee and ankle injuries. And also a loss of range of motion, because a lot of runners, I mean, you look at running and it's not a very big range that's required. So through a loss of range and constant repetitive running with lack of proper warm-ups and stretching at the end, we see a lot of loss of range of motion leading to tightness and leading to injuries in the future.
So the next question then is, we did the first part of the testing, now we go to part two, and now this is where you start, if you would, honing in on the weaknesses and things that I can do to correct myself, and you as well, getting ready for the race on March 30th.
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to take a look at, we've looked at global movements and how the body moves. We'll take a look at and see where the restrictions really are now in a regional kind of approach. And then we'll start to give you exercise prescription to correct those instabilities, but also enhance your ranges so that you get rid of any nagging injuries that may be lurking in the background.
I'm looking forward to this, I think.
So we're going to get him to place a dowel on his head, and then extend his arms straight up above, keeping his arms in line with his ears, his feet are shoulder width apart, and then he's going to try and just do a squat as far down as he can until he feels restriction. So he's squatting down.
And we feel a restriction right away.
Okay, where do you feel it?
Left lower hip.
Okay, so left lower hip tends to lead us in that direction, okay, as to where his first restriction may be for a runner and what we need to get rid of. So what we're going to have Ted do is keep his hands on his hips, which is going to show us hip stability. He's going to bring his arm, or his leg forward, sorry, and then what he's going to do is try and sit back through his hips, and we want to look at the knee, the left knee, or whichever one's going to be bearing, and see what it does and if it stays in proper alignment. So we'll watch as he goes, his leg is straight, keeping good posture. He's going to try and sit back. And you can see the knees trying to find where to go and come back up again. He's going to try it again. Yeah. He's going to sit back, and we're trying to keep the knee in line, but you can see it want to come in. Yeah. And what I want you to do is I'm going to bring this leg up, and I'm going to let it go. I want you to keep it there. Good. That's a 3 out of 5. Wait, keep it there. Now I'm going to push down. I want you to resist my push. Ready? Resist. Not bad, actually. Bring this leg up. Sit straight up, trying to lean back and cheat. Now I'm going to push down. You resist. Ready? Resist. Feel the difference in strength? Yeah. So ideally, if his hip flexors were nice and loose, this knee should be below the table. However, you can see that it's actually above the table. So his hip flexor is extremely, extremely, extremely tight, which we see with a lot of distance runners. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push down a little bit. You let me know when you feel a stretch through the front of your hip. Right about now. Okay, so you can see it's extremely tight. Look at that. That's flexible. All right, so Ted is now a flexible man. Okay. But we're looking at some good flexibility through his hamstring. The test we're going to be doing now are just to take a look at the hip stabilizers in Ted's hips and to see where they're at as far as helping to stabilize from here down. So when he's single leg squatting, his knees are coming in. Basically, a lot of people think the culprit is the knee musculature. It may be the VMO on the inside, but for the most part, it's usually the hip stabilizers that aren't keeping the hip out and letting it fall in. Which, when running, imagine if he's just doing that squatting, imagine what's happening at a microcosm level when he's running. So what we're going to do is have him come back, lie back on the table. We're going to take a look at the hip strength. Relax. I'm just going to take you up and in and see where I'm getting some blockage. There's some blockage up and around this area. I'm going to take a look at internal rotation. He's a little restricted here, and then I'm going to externally rotate you. A little bit of restriction there. We want his leg to get to about this position, so he's got some restriction here. This is a muscle that will help keep you there. We're going to internally rotate your leg. Good. And I'm just going to push down and in, and I want you to meet my resistance. Are you ready? Resist. Okay, he's actually pretty strong there. Now lift this leg, and you can see rotation on that side as well. So he's going to bring it down and up. Which one? This one. You can see rotation there when he's lifting this leg. So basically, you can drop back down. When he's bridging up, we're looking at his glute musculature, as well as his hamstrings, which are two hip extenders, to try and work together. And they work when you're pushing yourself forward when running. And we want to see that his hip region can stay stable as one leg extending. But when he takes one leg up, you can see a lot of rotation. Which, if that happens right now in this circumstance, imagine what's happening when we're running repeatedly. He's just a lot of movement, whereas if he was more stable, we would reduce a lot of wasted energy. Good, and then the other side. Good, and then the other side. Good, and then the other side. Good, and back down. Okay, so you can see he's got some rotation as well. It's not as bad as actually the posterior chain, but you can see he's got some rotation when he lifts one foot and then the other, and that, once again, is wasted energy and something we can correct through stability training. So we saw a little bit of weakness on this side. I'm going to pull. Don't let me pull you. Resist. Good. Internally rotate. Resist. Good. So I should be able to move you. Try and resist. Resist. Good. Okay, so we're seeing some weakness in the hamstrings that we would have to target, which helps you when you're landing and then taking off again. Flexors are working. Everything's working. But you can see as you start to fatigue, this is starting to dip. Okay, so we're at 37 seconds so far.
What's the average?
There is no average. There is no average. We compare you to you. Keep holding there as high as long as you can, and stop. Once I start to see your back sag that low, we're done. It's good. 49 seconds, big guy.
There is kind of a thing, I guess, where all runners, all we do is run, and that's great. We build up our mileage, we build up our cardio, we think, but you're telling me really that's not enough.
Yeah. You know, to get up every day and run is a great thing in that, you know, you're being proactive and you're actually making a change in your fitness, but are you taking the right approach in order to make sure you can do it in terms of longevity? Are you doing, you know, a warm-up and even some simple dynamic stretches beforehand, getting, you know, attacking the musculature around the hips and the calf and the low back and the shoulders to make sure that your run actually feels good and loose? And then, you know, getting some mileage underneath you, but are you doing just mileage runs? Are you doing shorter runs, medium run, longer runs, interval runs to actually improve your overall fitness? And then once again at the end, is there a cool down component and is there a stretching component and a refueling component as far as, you know, replenishing yourself for what you've done?
Now people are watching this, and it's great that we had a chance to go through a really high-intensity workout here at McMaster. People that are just starting, they want to take part in the race. Should they perhaps be seeing some sort of a physical trainer to go through some sort of a strength flexibility test before they begin training for this race?
Absolutely. I mean, you want to make sure you have the proper fitness background in order to actually attack a 5K race, or, you know, make sure you're prepared for it. I mean, it takes more than just a little bit of work to be prepared for a 5K race, but you also want to make sure you're not hurdling over any risk factors along the way and putting yourself at risk. So as far as what you've done, as far as seeing a GP and getting some stress tests done, or just, you know, some baseline physical tests, blood pressure, heart rate, to make sure, you know, at a resting point you're at the right stages, but also in activity, how do you respond? So seeing a physical trainer, a personal trainer in your area, and getting just some baseline testing done to see where you're at, and just setting some real easy short-term goals, and attacking those goals will help you actually, you know, achieve those goals, but in the end, you know, give yourself a level of success at the outcome.
So there you go. Had a chance to go through the paces, and the rest now is up to you. Go get tested. Start working on the strength of the core. And like me, hopefully that six-pack will come down a little bit, at least maybe not a six-pack, but down to a 1. Steve Lidstone here at McMaster. Thanks for the time. Hope to see you on the course on March 30th. In the meantime, keep checking this blog for information.